Okay, so you're joining us back in the Valencia save, and the worst has happened to us. We have received a undeniably good bid for our best player, I would say, of the save so far. It is Alban Lafont, our goalkeeper. And we've received, a bid of 47 that rises to £61 million. He's incredibly keen on the deal. And it's a non-negotiable offer as well, so we haven't got any squeezing room there. And I'm just going to talk through some considerations when you get a bid for a player that you don't particularly want to sell, what you should be thinking about as you go into negotiations if you do have that option. Of course, if the offer is good, it can be tempting to sell even if you do love the player, as I do. Alban Lafont, by the way, statistically, he's a world beater. The offer is a good one, I won't lie. I think I can probably bring in a replacement for the money that he's being tabled at. If you do think you're tempted to sell, you should only really do that if you feel you can find a suitable replacement.
We cannot replace him. We cannot.
But the other thing that you really must consider, and especially when the offer comes through mid-season, and this is a January transfer that's being tabled by Chelsea, is you've got to guarantee it's not going to poleaxe your squad's morale, and you do so by heading to Dynamics. Our club atmosphere at the moment is brilliant. We've just won the Spanish Super Cup. Team cohesion's very good, even though we had a high turnover in the summer, and the managerial support is even ticking up, which is quite good to see. I've broken a few promises, but nothing too substantial. Rooney Barchi wants a new deal, and Alban Lafont obviously wants to join Chelsea. But the hierarchy is the tab that you need to go to here. So Lafont is one of our most highly influential players, so probably in the top 5 at the club. He's been at the club as well for a good while, and he's a fairly sporting personality, so he's going to be well liked by the majority of the team. And if I were to just let him go, I'm sure I'd be getting in my ear Gomez, Gaia and co coming knocking saying you shouldn't have done that. So that would take us on a downward dip that we really can't afford at the moment. We had a very bad spell of form between late October and the end of December, and we got it in the ear from the board come January that we needed to turn things around, and thankfully a tactical change has proven fortunes are on the up. So I don't really want to add anything detrimental into the mix for a squad morale point of view at the moment, because we're flying, but then therefore we have to find a very good realistic replacement. So let's get through to a few potential replacements then and see what we've got in the range. So I've already got a filter on this for the best goalkeepers that are available to us, and I've filtered by recommendation, but often I'll generally just filter by ability and potential. You can see that Dennis Seaman is at the top, so let's give him a comparison with Alban Lafont. And yeah, he takes most of the stats and the averages. He is better on technical by 1, better on mental by 2, and he's matching on the physical. So he's a fantastic prospect and obviously one of the wonder kids of the game. But talking to the agent about Dennis, I think it's unrealistic. So we're only bringing in, after all of the terms and conditions of Lafont's contract, we'll probably bring in about 40 million. And yeah, we're not going to be anywhere near 71, which is what we'd need to bring in Dennis Seaman. So we're not going to have him, safe to say. The next option I think is probably viable. Chevalier is currently the backup at PSG. If I compare him with Lafont and I look at the averages along the bottom here, he does actually match Lafont on mental ability, and he's only 1 behind on technical and physical, but he's only 25 years old as well. So there's a few more years in him and potential for him to get slightly better as a first team prospect, certainly. So he's tempting, if I'm honest, and I think if I have a look at the agent, 31 and 37, but he does want quite a whack in terms of wage. That would be 20 more than Lafont is currently on, and that's a lot of promises that he'd want. So I would contest that now, just so I've got, I'll give it that. That's a little bit better. So yeah, Chevalier is an option. The other options that I just remember from games previous are Carnesecchi, who, if I have a look, is at Leipzig at the moment, and wow, his price value has skyrocketed, and rightly so. That's a fantastic set of attributes by the looks of things, but not to be sniffed at with my budget. Turati, I know, is a good goalkeeper on this game. We're scouting him currently. That could be a viable option by the looks of things. He looks like he might have what it takes, just having a look at those masked attributes, but we'll get more on that. Also a 25-year-old, so that's good. And the last one is Andre Gomez, I think, the goalkeeper at Dortmund currently. So yeah, this guy looks, he hasn't got the best star rating in the bottom left there. He takes it for a few stats, but not the ones he'd really care for. Eccentricity, aggression off the ball. He's a bit quicker than Lafont, but nothing to write home about. But the averages are good. The averages match Lafont. He's slightly shorter, so his reach isn't going to be quite there. His communication's poorer. One-on-ones he matches though, that's an important one, and reflexes he's not too bad, but only at 22. So this guy is a grower for sure. He's someone that could definitely develop, and one that I will consider certainly at that offer. So let's have a look. 19 million. That's his minimum release clause. That's very good. So we could get this guy for 19 million. We could bring home 20 extra with the sale, and probably invest in a good centre back. But there we go. So those are the options if you are to accept. The other options, of course, are that you do just reject it, keep the player and keep him unhappy. I know for a fact that Lafont has got a few clubs, so Man United as well, are interested in his signing. I don't think we're going to get them to go away, so to speak. I think they'll come knocking in the summer if they don't do now. And that's really your option. So where you would normally have negotiation ability, you'd be able to add in the clauses here that you want to either keep him till the end of the season, so transfer date can move to end of season. That's always a recommendation for me, particularly if you're in a title race, because you just don't want to disrupt that cohesion that you have in the squad when you're pushing for titles, and so keeping hold of your players till the summer is always a good one. And then of course you can just reject and try and get more money out of the situation as well. You will probably find that the player will try and force their way out by saying, what is the price that you will accept for me? And that's where it gets a little bit interesting, because what we're going to do now, I've saved this slightly to the side of my actual save, and we're going to experiment with a few slightly less honourable ways out here. So I'm going to first of all reject this offer, and we're going to, in the next continue, probably have a challenge from Lafont, and there we go. So I'm going to talk to him about it. I'm going to say that the finances weren't right on the deal that they were offering. Then whatever his asking price is, 70 million, that's good. I can confirm that. He's encouraged. He wants to stay, or doesn't want to stay. He wants to go, but he's waiting for a bid of £70 to come through. Now this is where it gets naughty, because what I could then do is say that I can offer him to clubs, target the clubs that he is actually being scouted by. I'm just going to do it for Chelsea for this option, and I'm going to say that the details are you can have him for £1 million. And there we go. I'll offer him for £1 million. Now, what would happen here is that Chelsea will continually put in a bid of £1 million until they get bored. But I will reject that, but Lafont will never see it as untoward, because he expects a bid of £70 million to come through, and that is the only promise. So that is hack number one. It's not particularly honourable, and I do think it's kind of cheating the game, and it's not something I'm going to do ultimately in this save, but it's a way around selling a player you don't want to sell. So they've made the offer. It's £1 million. I'm going to reject it. I'm going to also tick this box, lower or equivalent value, and then what should then happen, Ruben's off on loan, that's good. What should then happen is the next time that we progress, Lafont should not be angry that I rejected that a second time. He's not asking to speak to me again. He is still going to be unhappy at the club, I believe. Yeah, but he's content. So this, if you had rejected that, if you had rejected an offer, of a incredible value again. So if they did come through with a £70 million bid and you said no for a second time, then this would now be down arrow red, the most pissed off a player can be, and overall happiness would certainly not be content. So this is how you essentially keep your promise, and when the bid of £70 million does not come through in the next could be 6 months, could be 12, Lafont will forget he had any problem because the club will lose interest naturally over time. So that is one way around selling your best player. Okay, so we're back at the menu. We've still got the same Lafont bid to deal with. We are again going to go with a reject here, and we are again going to blame the finances, but this time we're going to cheese it in a slightly different way. So there is a second less honourable way of dealing with this, and I'm going to show you how. So Lafont asked to discuss future. We've got the same result there as we would expect. We'll discuss issue with him. We'll say exactly the same thing. We'll accept this 70 million, but this time we're not going to do that tactic of putting the offer down to 1 million for that one club, but instead we're going to await a second bid from Chelsea. Yes, so as it happens, the action that we took, which we are going to stick with, actually, it's the route that we're definitely going to uphold in our save, I think, and that was that we didn't think the valuation from Chelsea was good enough for Lafont, and therefore we rejected the initial bid with a view to accepting if they put in a bid of £70 million. Now, their first bid was 61, so I didn't think 70 was that big of a stretch, and I was expecting to get more in the pipeline of the next few days, but we've got nothing back from Chelsea as yet. So I'm just going to ignore this staff meeting for a start. I'm going to go about the other way around, the other less honourable way around not selling your best players, by looking at a offer to clubs instead of waiting for the offer to come in. So targets proposed to other Chelsea. There we go. Okay. Details £70 million, but then with an additional clause, an additional fee of a player to exchange. Now, this is another widely understood cheat, so to speak, or certainly a less honourable way of doing things in the FM community. And it is basically to pick another player from the squad. Fill your boots. You want someone that they're going to accept. So you probably look at under 18 players, and let's just say we want Mark Hitchin. You'll do nicely. So whilst it doesn't work this way around, you're not able to negotiate a player to exchange as part of a targeted club offer a player, but you are normally faced with a similar drop down menu. If a bid were to come in, you could navigate to the players to exchange, and under the add player drop down you'd have lists of first team, under 21s, under 19s, under 18s, etc. And you're aiming with this way around things to just pick a player that you know they'd accept to be part of that exchange. So anyone of the value of a couple of 100,000 that's sitting in their under 18s team, pick that player, and then all you're going to do is fall completely short of promises for that player. So they'll be expecting to be a breakthrough prospect, for example, and you could just say surplus to requirements straight up in the negotiation. They'll be expecting a salary of 8k a week, whatever it may be, and you're offering them a fiver. And essentially you're looking for the entire deal to collapse on the missed expectations of this exchange player. And what becomes of that is that Alban Lafont thinks you've done everything you can to bring him to a happy resolution with the new club by accepting the bid to begin with, and then just the only thing it hinges on is not your decisions but the other players. So everything falls through. The buying club then walk away, and Alban Lafont is happy in his dynamics, as he already is with me. To be fair, he's disappointed not to be joining Chelsea, but if you go to happiness, he is still content and quite good morale wise. So that's a win for me, and that's the resolution of me suggesting that they haven't bid enough. But as it happens, the ways around, the less honourable ways around this haven't been necessary. I wouldn't uphold them anyway. But the offer of £70 million was too much for Chelsea to begin with. So his own evaluation of his cost is not what Chelsea are willing to pay. Those are all the considerations then for what you should do if a bid comes in for your favourite player in your squad, or your best player in your squad, not necessarily your favourite, and how you can realistically work your way through that process, minimising the damage to your squad. Hope you enjoyed that one, guys. We're going to have a shorter video on the cheat sheet for selling and buying players up on our channel soon, so check out the channel for more videos, and until next time, adios.